Good to see you. Good to see you. So happy everybody's here today. I saw some of my favorite people here. Hey, William, it's so good to see you. How are you? Good. Hi, and Linda, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, we got all sorts of people. Natasha's here. So good to see you. Julie, awesome. Hello. Say hi. Say hi. Okay. So we are here to really kick off our 2024. Who is ready to kick off an awesome 2024? Are we ready for this? I love it. Okay, so first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kole Finley, and I am the owner of Finley-RE Coaching and Consulting. And we help support experienced real estate agents who are looking to create a business that is predictable, sustainable, and scalable. That's what we do all the time. So it's great fun. A few of you know me. I know I've got a couple clients on the call today. Do me a favor in the chat. Do me a favor. Go in the chat. Tell me where you're from. I always love to see where people are calling from. So just put that in the chat. By the way, if you're watching us in the live stream on our Facebook group, go ahead and put it in there as well. Where are you from? I always like to make sure I can see people. Savannah, Georgia. I love me some Savannah. Hey, Sacramento County, California. Okay, so we're both ends of the country here. Love that. Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome, welcome, Don. Don, it's so good to see you. I love it. By the way, I'm in a little town called Snowflake, Arizona. It's this wonderful little town. We're up in the mountains, so yes, it does snow in Arizona, and it's beautiful. Hey, Rick, you're here from Visalia, California. Love it, love it. Lexington, Kentucky. Oh, great. Okay, so I think we are all here, and we're ready to get started on our 2024. I want, if I can do this for a second, I want to share with you kind of why the heck we're doing this particular class. And I'm going to see if how many of you guys can really relate to me. So when I was doing active real estate, this is before I started managing real estate companies. Was anybody like me where you were so busy, you would get yourself so busy that you did tons and tons of lead generation, and then you had so many clients you didn't know what to do with, and you were scrambled and you were panicked and everything like that. And as soon as you got everybody closed, and your business fell off the planet. Has anybody ever done that? Do me a favor and say, it's me. That's me in the chat. Do me a favor, put me in the chat if that has been your experience. I tell you what, such a fascinating thing when that happens. And yes, again, if you are in the watching our live stream, go ahead and put it in the chat there as well. Linda has been there, done that. Do you have all the colors of the t-shirt, the same t-shirt as well? And I love that. I love that. Well, the one thing that I realize, and William says, yes, I tried that a long time now, need to get listings. I hear you. I hear. How many of you guys would like listings right now? Yes, yes. Julie saying yes. Rick saying yes. Everybody's raising their hands. I hear you. Well, one of the biggest challenges that we have when we're realtors, we're really good at getting to know people. I mean, like everybody on our screen right now, you're all people. I love that. And everybody who is probably in the group, that's what you are. You're great people. But you may not necessarily know how to run a business so it stays steady. Anybody like that? Anybody want to create a business that's predictable, sustainable, and scalable? If you would like to create that kind of business, say me in the chat. Do me a favor, just put me in the chat if you would like to create that kind of business. Yes, me, exclamation point, me, fantastic. Well, that's really what these 3 Thursdays are going to be. So this Thursday, we're going to be talking about knowing your numbers, and we're going to be talking about setting goals. And I take a little different take on this. I think you guys might enjoy this. Next Thursday, if any of you guys know me, you know I'm a total AI geek, so artificial intelligence geek. So we're going to really deep dive again into Chat GPT. Very good. So if you haven't heard about that, that. We're going to make sure that you understand how to really use AI to power your business. And then we're going to get into, on our third Thursday, which is on the 21st, that is going to be all about something called the SAT growth formula. That's strategy plan, action plan, and time plan. And that will be the absolute crux. It's going to help you in 2024 create a predictable, sustainable, and rock star year. That's what that is going to be about. Okay, so today we're really going to be focusing on how do we set goals for your life rather than for a number. I think that's so important. And then we're going to put numbers to that particular goal. By the way, make sure, for those of you who want to really, really, really up your game in 2024, stay to the very end. I have something incredible I'm going to share with you and to give away. So if you stay till the very, very end, I'm going to share some stuff with you. So that would be wonderful. Okay. So let's start here. I would love to know what made you join today. What's one thing that you would like to take away from our class today? Do me a favor, put that in the chat. I'll give you just a second to type that in. What's one thing that you would like to take away from our class today? And again, for those you guys, I'm kind of watching you in the group. If you can put that in the chat as well. Or by the way, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and put that in the chat as well. I read all of our notes, even in our group. Linda's saying revitalize. Oh, I like that. William, get better systems and results for the new year. Fantastic. Fantastic. Who else is with us? What else would you really like to get out of today? Because this is all about you guys. I want to make sure that we're covering exactly what you want to cover and make sure we're getting that out of today. Now, I am going to be going into a lot of numbers, so that's going to be it. Hopefully everybody got their workbook. Did you get the workbook that I emailed out? Okay, if you did not, here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Just as long as you've got paper and pen to be able to take notes, it's going to be great. You can always go ahead and print this up for tomorrow. But if you do have it, okay, William, no problem. I am putting the link for it in the chat right now, so you can grab that and you can do that. It's really easy. You're just going to need a pen, paper, and your calculator for today, but there is the workbook that does have our pages also for coming up for our next 2 Thursdays. So you can always print that up then. Okay. Julie says she needs to learn to be a proactive business owner. You've been pretty proactive lately, though, Julie. Julie's one of our clients. She's amazing. I love her. She's actually spoken on one of our live streams before. So beautiful. Okay. So we're going to do a lot of numbers today. Okay. One thing you'll always know is whenever you're coaching with me or you teach a class, or I'm teaching a class, you're always going to want your calculator with you. So make sure you've got your calculator with you. Okay. So I want to start off with something, and I'm going to describe a concept, and then we're going to do a little bit of chatting together. Okay. So first of all, let me share my screen, and the concept I'm going to be telling you about is something called the path to profit. The path to profit. These are, when we're talking about knowing your numbers. By the way, most agents, when I talk to them, they've heard they need to know their numbers, but they actually don't necessarily always know what those numbers are. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So it's called the path to profit. Now, we always want to work our way backwards. So we always start with profit in mind. First thing is always profit. Now, in order to have profit, we need to have gross commission income. In order to have gross commission income, we need to have closed sales. In order to have closed sales, we need to either have listings or buyers. In order to have listings or buyers, we need to go on appointments. And in order to go on appointments, we need to generate some leads. So as you see, we're generating leads. It's going to get us appointments. That's going to get us sellers and buyers. That's going to get us to the closing table with gross commission. And if we're running our business right, we have got a profit at the end of it. Does that make sense for everybody? Pretty simple, right? Okay, great. So here's what I want to talk about for a second. So much of the time when we're talking about our business, what do you think when I ask someone what their goals are for the year? What do you think they tell me? What are they based on? What do you think? And you can just speak up. You can take yourself off mute if you'd like. I'd like to hear what you think. What do people tell me? Rick, I love your face. I love the challenge, by the way.
How much money you can make?
Yeah, so it's how much money. Great. What else do they tell me? What do you think? William, heck yeah, 500,000, William, you got it. Okay, there's usually a number like that. Okay, you know what they normally tell me? I want to close like 24 closings, or I want to make $100,000, 200,000, 300,000. Okay. And I ask, say, so is that, like, for example, William, I'll ask you, 500,000, is that GCI or is that net profit? So that's the thing, right? Are we looking for GCI or are we looking for net profit? Here's the thing to understand. Yeah, both. Well, okay. So, well, in order to have your net profit, the GCI has got to be there. So it's either you have higher GCI or you have lower net profit there, William. I love that. Thank you. But I love that you're saying that. It's a beautiful thing. Here's what we need to understand. Whenever we are looking at our year, it's got to be based first on the life that we want to live. It needs to be based first on the life we want to live. Because if I say that I want to close 24 transactions this year, okay, the number 24 is not a big enough motivator in and of itself to push me through the hard times that are going to happen this year. Does that make sense? I want to make absolutely sure that what my goals are tied to and what my business goals are tied to is what I want in my life. For example, does anybody, and by the way, how many of you actually go on vacation? Who wants to go on vacation this year? If you want to go on vacation, do me a favor, tell me in the chat how long you want to go on vacation or how many vacations you want to take this year. Tell me that. How long or how many? Yep, William definitely wants to go on vacation. Sure. How many do you want to go on? Julie, you had a great goal. You and I were actually talking about that yesterday for yours. So I love that. Great. Two big vacations this year and just 2 1-week trips is what you're saying, Julie. And then you were going to be doing some getaways with the hubby, right? That was important. Great. Linda wants to go on 3 trips. So we need to take vacation. By the way, what happens right before you go on vacation? Anybody know? Linda, I like you're shaking your head. What happens, Linda? You can take yourself off mute if you want, or the other way. You get super busy. Natasha, you're nailing it. You always get to it. It's the real estate gods. They know you're going on vacation, but you need to go. Okay. How many of you? What else would you like to do this year? Let's say you had a spectacular year this year. Spectacular year. What would that look like for you? Let's pretend this. Let's say that we are all back here a year from today and we're celebrating, and you are celebrating big time that 2024 was the best year ever. What would you be celebrating? What would you be celebrating? Okay. What would the best year ever look like for you? Would you be able to go on vacation? Would you buy a new home? Would you buy investment properties? Would you give to charity? Okay. Would you be able to set aside for kids' college, grandkids' college? What I'd like you to do is let's take some notes on that right now. Go ahead on your paper there, write down, if this were my favorite year, my best year ever, what would I be able to accomplish because of the money I was able to make? We're not even going to talk about the number just yet, but what would you be able to accomplish based on the money that you could make? Let's make a list. Would it be vacations? What would you do for your family? What would you do for yourself, by the way? Would there be anything you'd actually do for you? What about charities? What charities could you help? Would that be something you'd like to do? Or your church, or your synagogue, or your mosque? Who could you really, really help? William's saying vacation, conventions, going to conventions. I love that, William. I love those too. Paying off debts. Yeah. Linda's saying, I would love to be able to volunteer 1 month a year. How wonderful would that be, Linda? I love that. What else? What would a great, great year be? Just write that in your notes. And let's capture that. When you're finished with that, do me a favor, just put in the chat finished. Okay. You can keep writing though. But put in the chat finished if you are finished.
Huh.
What would you love to be able to do? I love that, William. Reach the goal of a higher level leadership in real estate. I love that. What does that look like for you, William? Are you owning a brokerage? Are you the managing broker? What does that look like? I love that. Beautiful. Yeah. Icon. Hey, there you go. There you go. Rick says, out of state deer hunting trip, visit my daughter in Portland. I love that, Rick. Out of state deer hunting. Rick, where are you right now again? I know you put it in the chat. Where are you?
California,
California. All right. So where are you going deer hunting?
Oregon, Colorado, Wyoming, anywhere.
Come to Arizona, man. We have them here too. That's all good. Okay.
Okay, I'll go.
I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up there with what you'd like your goals to be based on. Now, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to really get into some numbers here. Some of you might have seen these numbers before. Julie, you might have seen these numbers before, maybe Natasha. But for most of you guys, this is going to be a little bit new for you. Now, as you guys probably all know, we do not set commissions. We do not set any form of fixed anything. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to read a disclaimer, and I hope you'll all be okay with that for just a minute. But I want to make sure that all of us understand that what this means. The data used to collect price and commissions in this presentation, which I am going to be going into some number of examples, are for example only. They are in no way intended to dictate a specific commission rate, commission amount, purchase price, or any other form of fixed calculation. It is illegal by federal law to fix prices such as real estate commission rates or to fix other terms or conditions of the broker-client relationship, group boycotts, or concerted refusals to deal with another competitor or a supplier. The antitrust laws apply to prohibit collective actions by real estate professionals that restrain trade. Real estate practitioners and firms must take care not only to avoid conduct that does violate the law, but also conduct that supports an inference of any unlawful agreement with other real estate professionals in restraint of trade. It is essential that real estate firms conduct training and practice vigilance to ensure that their activities and that of their salespeople and staff do not imply unlawful activity. Thank you for my attorney for that. Okay, so let's get into some fun numbers. Now I'm going to start with something that's called the personal budget macros. Your personal budget macros. So do me a favor. If you do have your workbook available, go ahead and open that up. And we are going to be starting here on page 3. So if you're in your workbook, we're on page 3. So let's kind of talk about what the personal budget macros. These are the things that make up that number and the life that you want to live. So if you don't know these numbers, I'm going to give you some homework. Okay. We're going to start off, first of all, with bills and debt. Now, we're going to break out kind of all the things that you pay for in your personal side. If you do not have a personal budget, it is time to get one. Absolutely. Now, we're not going to go into the personal budget creation here. If that's something that you'd like to do, you can absolutely always schedule some time with me and we can take a look at that. But basically what we want to do is understand all the differences that we're going to say. So let me tell you what bills and debt are. Bills are the money that you spend only to keep the lights on, the roof over your head, food on the table, making sure that you're paying off any debt that you have. It's a reasonable amount of your cable. I will actually say it's okay that you've got insurance that you need to pay. Those are all important things. It's really the things that are the necessities. This is not going to be in the extras. When you are putting together a budget, this needs to be line items. So if you don't have a budget yet, this is something you absolutely want to work on before the first of the year. We want to be able to set your budget. Here's what I hear from most real estate agents when I am coaching them is that they say, well, I think it's sort of this. I could tell you to the penny what my budget is every single month. When you can get religious about tracking your spending, that's when you will really start creating wealth. It's the first part of it. So that's bills and debt. The next thing is savings. Does anybody know, and you put this in the chat, does anybody know what the rule of thumb is for how much savings you should have in your bank account, in your savings account, in comparison to the rest of your account? How much money should you have in savings? Put that in the chat if you think you know. 6 months of expenses, Linda, ding, 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 ding. You're right on the money. That would be the minimum. You want to have at least 6 months worth of your bills and debt. Okay, 6 months worth of your bills and debt. Now we're going to be going into these very particularly in just a minute, but absolutely 6 months. I'm going to tell you 2 years once you get there. How about if you had 2 years in the savings? William's saying put 10% into putting into your savings account. Absolutely, you can do it that way too. Great, love it. So savings, we want to build it up to 6 months to 2 years. Start off with 6 months. Okay. The next thing we want to have in your personal budget macros are your investments. Are you saving money for investments? By the way, you know you're really an investor when your money makes you money and you don't even have to spend your own money for investments. Was anybody on our live stream last week with Joanna? Wasn't she fabulous? I love it. So Joanna Wright, she is a real estate investing coach. So she's fantastic. She'll be back with us again in January for a wonderful surprise. So that'll be exciting. But these are your investments, money that makes money. Are you putting some money aside for your investments? The next thing, fun and charitable contributions. So fun. Now let's talk about what fun means. Okay. That wonderful new pair of shoes you bought, those are fun. Vacation, that's fun. That deer hunting trip, Rick, that is fun, right? If we're talking about kids soccer practice and the stuff they need, that's fun. School supplies are bills and debt, but the extracurricular activities for the kids are fun. There is a difference between those two things. It's the necessities, because the kids got to have supplies to go to school, but they actually don't need to survive, have to have all the stuff for the extracurriculars. Okay. So when we're starting to understand what fun is, it's all the extra stuff that if you had to start cutting, that's the stuff that would get cut first. The next thing is charitable contributions. Absolutely. I'm going to give you an example. Every single month, 10% of my husband's and my budget goes towards Wounded Warrior Project. My husband was in the military. He's a very proud veteran. I'm very proud of his veteranism. And so we give away to that. You might tithe to your church or your mosque or your synagogue. You might have other different charities that you do. Maybe those charitable contributions come in time. By the way, that's okay. Your time is worth something as well. Okay, so when you're putting your personal budget together, these are all of the categories that you're going to have. Now, here's the cool thing. If we're talking about the life you want to live, so all the things you just put down, there's a number tied to those things. There is a monetary amount that's tied to those things. Remember, money is only as good as the good it will do and how it will serve you. So when we're talking about your net profit goal for your business, it is all of these things put together. This equals your net profit. Now, I get asked a lot at this point in time, well, Kole, my spouse also brings in money. Should I count them? And I'm going to tell you, no. Let them be extra. What if your business was able to support all of these things, and then your spouse's business was able to add to it? What would your life be like? Okay. So bills and debt, savings, investments, fun, and charitable contributions, those all added up would equal that life that you want to live. Those numbers go in here and that equals your net profit. Okay. How am I doing for everybody? Is this, have I lost you? Are you understanding? If you're understanding, say understand in the chat for me, would you? And again, if you are watching on the live stream, you can go ahead and put it there as well. I'm keeping an eye on you guys over here. Understand. Fantastic. Understand. So again, by the way, if you have a question and you've got a burning question, feel free. You can go into the reactions there and you can just raise your hand. Absolutely, just raise your hand and I'll take a look at it. Or if you just want to speak up, I'm good with that too. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. So let's go into what this might look like. Now I'm going to break this down into monthly and annual. Okay. Monthly and annual. So bills and debt, let's say my bills and debt monthly are $7,500. Okay. Annually, then that would be 90,000 because that would be simply times 12. Let's say my savings is 3750 because I want 6 months of that. Let's say I started off, I don't have any savings. I want that to be 50% of my bills and debt. So that's in there. Okay. Of course, annually, that's going to take us to 45,000. On investments, let's say I want to put 3450 away per month, or let's say it's $41,000 for the year. And then fun and charitable contributions, maybe I'm putting away $2,000 a month for that. And then of course that's 24,000 a year. So if I add these all up together, what I get is 16,700 for the month, and I get 200,000 for the year. Okay. How are we doing on that? Does that make sense for everybody? We're doing okay? Awesome. Awesome. All right. I love it. By the way, Katie says, love, love, love. I'm determined to dive into the beginning of the year. I am so glad to hear that from you, Katie. That is fantastic. Love, love, love it. Oh, by the way, and I think Katie's also watching our video for Amanda. So that's really cool. All right. So far, so this is net profit. Okay. Everybody okay on this? Have you followed me so far? All right. We're understanding. So I'm going to go over here into the next one, and we're going to start talking about your business. Now, this is the nitty gritty of what we're going to be talking about. You're going to follow me here, and I might lose you. So stick with me and ask questions. Okay. Business budget macros. So let's talk about your business budget categories. They start off with net profit. Okay, so now we know our net profit, and in my example, it's 200,000, right? You're going to know whatever your number is. Whatever your number is for your net profit. Now, the next number we need to understand is net income. That's also known as taxable income. What is that? That's your taxes plus your net profit. Taxes plus net profit equals net income. I'm going to show you how to calculate that in just a minute. Okay. Next is your cost of sales. Okay. Cost of sales, and you want to take this note down. Cost of sales is the money that you spend only if you have a closing. Usually that will come out of your commissions. By the way, we are on page 5 in your workbook, if you're following along there. It's only coming out of commission. Let's talk what that could be. Maybe you are paying your company split. So if you're paying your split out of that, maybe you are paying a referral to someone out of that. Maybe you're paying your E&O insurance. Maybe your office fees come out of your closings only. So it'd be things like that. Maybe you have a stager that gets paid only if you close something, and they get paid out of closing. Maybe you have a photographer that does that as well. Okay, it's cost of sales. Now, I always get asked this question right now. Would that be my listing photos and my marketing materials for my listing? No, unless it's paid out of closing. Well, where would that come into? That then would be your expenses. Okay. Expenses is the money that you spend regardless if you have a closing or not. So what would that be? That would be things like salaries if you have a team. That would be things like your continuing education classes. That would be your realtor dues, your MLS dues, all of those kind of things. Anything that has to do with supplies, or if you decided to buy a new computer this year, anything that is there to help you run your business and lead generate and communicate. Those are all expenses. Now, remember, when you have a listing, when you are putting that home on the market, you're not guaranteed that it's going to sell. So any of the expenses you have because of that you do need to pay up front are not cost of sales. They are expenses. Okay. And then finally, we have reserves. What are reserves? They are your savings account for your business. Now, can anybody guess, give me a wild guess of how much reserves you want to have in your account for your business? Got any guesses for that? Go ahead and put it in chat if you've got a guess of how much reserves you need to have in the account for your business. And again, if you are watching us, feel free to go ahead and let me know in the chat as well on the Facebook Live. You guys are doing great. Great. So would it surprise you if I said 6 months to 2 years? Yes, 6 months to 2 years. Absolutely. Okay, so that's the reserves. Now, here's the cool thing. First of all, does everybody understand taxable income, cost of sales, expenses, and reserves? Does anybody have any questions on that? Feel free to come off of mute, and you can tell me if you've got a question. I'm gonna give you just a minute for that. Are we feeling good? I feel good. No. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep moving forward. So if we add those up, your taxable income, your cost of sales, expenses, and reserves, that then would be the amount of money that your business must produce in order to create that life that you want. So that basically is your GCI. What gross commission income must your business produce in order for you to create that net profit? And that net profit is what funds that perfect life. You with me on this?
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just give you an example of that. Now, I'm going to walk you through a couple of calculations here. It's going to be important too. So let's start off with taxable income. Now, you know our net profit is $200,000. We need to understand our tax rate. Okay. Now, the first thing, this is going to be the easiest way to calculate it. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. When you're running a really solid P&L and you have an accountant helping you, they're actually going to help you really understand this taxable income. I'm going to give you a very simple way to calculate it, but I'm always going to tell you to speak with your CPA every year to make sure you understand what your taxable income is. So if we want to calculate income, we're going to subtract the tax rate from 100%. And I know this sounds kind of strange, but we're going to subtract the tax rate. So let's say our tax rate is 25%. I'm pay 25%, let's say on my taxes. It might be more, it might be less, 25%. I'm going to take that from 100%. That's going to leave me 75%. Then I take my net profit and I divide that by 75%. All right. So what does anybody know? Put it in the chat if you think that you know what your net, or not, excuse me, what your tax rate was last year. Does anybody know what that tax rate was last year? Might be kind of complex if you've got a bigger business. Julie, I know you've got your whole team and all sorts of stuff. So you got some crazy things there as well. Natasha, probably you as well. You've got a bigger team, but okay. So William had a 10% tax rate. Fantastic. So you're going to be dividing by 90%, William. If it's 20% tax rate, then you'd be dividing that net profit goal by 20. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your calculator. Okay. And we're just going to practice the calculation. If you do not have your net profit goal yet, that's okay. You can use 200,000. If you do have your net profit goal, here's how it works. You're simply going to plug in that net profit goal. So as you guys can see, I've got 200,000. I'm going to divide. I'm not multiplying. I'm dividing by 75%. Dividing by 75%. So for example, William said his tax rate was 10%. He would be dividing by 90%. Make sense? So you guys are going to see that on mine, that's going to be harder to see because we're all minimized. That's 267,000 when I round up, $267,000. Did everybody understand how to do that calculation to get your taxable income? Feeling good on that? Okay. Say good. Type good in the chat if you're with me on that. Good. Just type good in the chat if you are on it with me. Awesome. Thank you. Good, good, good. All right. Have I lost anybody? If I've lost you, type lost in the chat too. I want to make sure I've got you all with me right now. Okay, good, good. Thank you. All right. Anybody lost? We can keep going on. Okay, let's keep going. Now, cost of sales. Remember, that is the money that you only pay if you close a transaction. That's your company split, your royalties, for example. If you pay a TC, a transaction coordinator, out of closing, that would be also that cost. So I'm just going to use an example of $36,000. You're going to go back and you're going to calculate this. By the way, you should be getting a printout either from your title company or from your office. At some point, someone's giving you a printout of all of the expenses that are coming out, or the cost of sales that are coming out of your commission. You want to keep track of those every single year. In our 12 Weeks to Breakthrough program, we actually go into that in pretty big detail of how you kind of put together that P&L and all that budget. So basically what you always want to know is what those numbers are. All right, now I'm going to go into expenses. Let's say this are things realtor dues, clock hour classes, like I said, marketing, lead generation, Any of those things would be inside of expenses. So I'm going to give the example of 60,000. So I'm going to use $5,000 per month for expenses for this a business. Again, these are all for example. None of this is set. Okay. Then I'm gonna go reserves. Let's say I want 6 months of my expenses. I don't have to worry about 6 months of cost of sales because if I don't make a sale, I don't pay that money. So this is only expenses, 5,000. And then reserves, then I'm going to have 30,000 of that. Okay. So that's at least 6 months. I'm going to be honest with you. I would always want to build up to twice my expenses. So you can just keep building, but you really want to have at least a minimum of 6 months. So your business can run even in the hard times. All right. So if we add all of those things up, your total GCI, which is your taxable income, your cost of sales, your expenses and reserves, the amount that your business must produce on this example is going to be $393,000. Okay. So we're adding all of those categories up and that comes out to $393,000. How are we doing? Everybody with me? Okay. Everybody understand so far? This is when you're running a business as a business, these numbers are vitally important for you to understand and to know. Okay. And I'm actually going to come back to that in a minute as far as all the way through. Okay. So let's go into it a little bit more in depth. We're going to go back to the path to profit again. Now, remember what I said. You have lead generation. Lead generation takes you to appointments held. Okay. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you go on appointments, do you always get the listing or do you always get the buyer? Yes or no? Do me a favor, put that in the chat. And when you are going on an appointment, do you always get the listing or do you always get the buyer? Or do you sometimes not get that client? Usually. I like that, Linda. Good. You do a lot of database work too. I know, Linda. So that's awesome. Sometimes you don't get the client. Anybody else gone on a listing appointment and somebody else got it? Okay. So here's what we know. When you go on that appointment, there is a conversion rate that you have from going from appointment to getting that seller or getting that buyer. By the way, if you don't know this number, an average is 75%. So 75% of the time when you go on an appointment, the average agent will get that listing or get that buyer 75% of the time. So that's a conversion. Now, when you take a seller or a buyer, you've got to get them to the closing table. So you're under contract, you got to get them to the closing table somehow. The seller at least was able to get the house sold and they got to the closing table. The buyer was able to find the house, get under contract, get it all the way to the closing table. Now you are going to have some of those fall out as well. So we have a conversion rate on that. There's always a conversion from taking the client to getting them to the closing table. Average again on that is 75%. Okay. Now, once we have a closed sale, on that sale, we make gross commission income. What happens is we have an average commission per closing. So we have our total closed sales. We actually have an average commission per closing. And that's going to give us our GCI, our gross commission. So you have the number of closings you have. We multiply that by either all of the commission or we can multiply it by average commission. That's going to take us to GCI. And then GCI, when we're running our business as a business, that's going to take us to our net profit goal. All right. So I'm going to take us over then to our example again. All right. We know that we had 393,000 and that is our GCI goal. Now we're going to be going into our path to profit numbers. These are the most important numbers that you will need to know to run your business. So the first number we want to know is closed sales. Now we are going to figure out how many we need. Okay. So what we're going to look at is we have our GCI goal. Now we're going to know our GCI goal is $393,000. Okay. We can divide that by last year's average GCI per transaction. Average GCI per transaction. Okay. So I want to know what that transaction. So let's say my average GCI per transaction was 15,000. For some of you, that might sound really, really high. For some of you, that might sound really, really low. But basically, I'm just going to go with 15,000. So let's say my average GCI was 15,000. I take that, divide that into my 393,000. And what that gives me is 26.2. Now, here's the homework that you are going to need to understand. You need to go back and you need to look at last year. What was your average commission per transaction? Pretty simple to do this. You take your total GCI, divide it by your total transactions, and that's going to give you your average commission per transaction. We're going to divide that into our $393,000. And that's going to give us 27 in my example. So $393,000 divided by that 15 is 27 closed transactions. You want to understand yours. We need to understand what is your goal, and then let's divide that. That's going to give us your number of closings. Now, you have a conversion. How many times did you take a listing and did it get to the closing table last year? What was the percentage of time that you did that? So I'm going to say in my particular one last year, both buyers and sellers, let's say my conversion rate was 80%. 80% of the time I was able to get them to the closing table. Okay. You're going to go back. You want to look at, did you have any fallout? Lately, that has been a really high number for a lot of people. But when we're in a super duper buyer's market, that actual number goes farther down because there's negotiations involved. There's a lot of emotion when it comes to sellers because they're in a buyer's market. Okay. So just let you understand that. Okay. Okay. So if we take then our 27, I've got my 27 closed transactions. I want to figure out how many listings I need to take if I have an 80% conversion rate. So what do? I take the 27, I'm going to divide the closing unit of 27 by that conversion of 80%. So I want you guys to go ahead and do the exercise with me. If you don't know your numbers, simply take your calculator. We're going to take 27. You're going to divide it by 80% or 0.8. And that's going to take us. So I'm going to do my 27 divided by 80%, and that's going to give me 33.75. Then I'm going to round it up because I can't have a 0.75 of a listing taken. So I am going to round that up to 34. Okay. How we doing? You with me so far? Looks like we're doing good. If you have a question, feel free to come off mute and ask a question. Okay, now I've always got a conversion now from going appointment to the listing taken or the buyer agency agreement signed. By the way, hopefully every single one of you are always, always, always getting a buyer agreement signed every single time. All right, so let's say the conversion. So last year, what is the percentage of the time that you went on an appointment and then you took the client? You went on an appointment, you took the client. That is one of the most important numbers you track, by the way. If you don't know that number in 2024, let's start tracking that number. That's going to be great for you. So let's say the conversion last year was 75%. So what do? In order to know the number of appointments I need to go on this next year, I take my 34 listings taken. I'm going to divide it by the 75% conversion rate. So the 34 divided by 75%, that's going to give me a total number of appointments for the year of 46. Okay. So we decided that our appointments we need to go on is 46 in order to get 34 listings taken, in order to get 24 closed units, in order to get a GCI of 393,000. Let's take a look at that again. We have our net profit. Let's work backwards. Okay, is 200,000. We worked all of our business budget macros. That took us to $393,000. Okay, from $393,000, we had that conversion rate. We said 15,000 was that gave us a closed unit number of 27. We took that 27, we had that conversion rate of 80% from listings taken to getting it closed. That gave us 34 listings taken or buyers. And then we had a conversion from going on that appointment. We said 75% of the time we went on the appointment, and that gave us 34 to figure out how many of those appointments that we needed to go on. And then, of course, we have lead generating activities. Okay. Basically, what happens is if we look at that from a monthly level, that is, and by the way, you get to decide how many months you're going to work. Let's say that you are going to be going on a couple of really long vacations. That's a month's worth of work. We could actually divide these by 11 rather than by 12. But I'm just going to go ahead and keep this really, really simple. So if I'm going to go on closed units, let's say it was 27, I want to close 3 a month. Okay, listings taken 34, I want to close 3 a month, and my appointments is 4. Let's take a look at what that looks like again. For each month, I will need to go on 4 appointments to take 3 buyers or sellers to get 3 closed. Remember, we're rounding up to get 3 closed, and then my GCI is going to be $32,750. Appointments, listings taken, and I call buyers listings taken as well, closed sales per month to GCI per month. Did you follow me? We got that, right? So you're going to go back through your numbers just like we did. By the way, I am posting this video inside of our Breakthrough-RE Facebook group. You can go ahead and rewatch this and watch it again and again if you need to, just to walk yourself through that. But this is what we're getting to now. Here's the coolest thing about these numbers. This is how I use this when I'm coaching our clients. Okay. First of all, if I've got a goal of 4 appointments, okay, so let's say I've got a client who's got a goal of 4 appointments. Julie, I'm going to pretend it's you. Is that okay? Let's say Julie's got a goal of 4 appointments, but she's not hitting those consistently. She's only getting 2 or 3. What do you think the biggest challenge that Julie has is? What could some of her challenges be? What do you think, Julie? What do you think they might be? I'm putting you on the spot here. I hope you're okay with that.
Well, just from the one that I lost this year that still bothers me. I didn't at the table. I didn't, push the paper over and say sign here, press, it's hard, press hard, 3 colors, whatever that saying was from back in the day, press hard, 3 copies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gave them the out to get back to me later, and I don't want to do that anymore.
There you go. So what we're talking about is presentation skills and objection handling skills. Getting that deal signed. Great. Another thing it might be is that you're not doing enough lead generation to get the appointments in the first place. So it could be those things. So getting an appointment, actually going on an appointment, it's the lead generating activities that you're doing is to get that happening. That's usually what we would prescribe. Now, what Julie said, she's going on the appointment, but maybe she missed out on getting that seller. Okay, that means that when we're talking about seller listing taken or buyer agency commitments, there might be an issue with the presentation. It might be an issue with objection handling. It might be an issue with self-confidence. It might be an issue understanding the contracts in the first place. It might be an issue not even having a presentation. Okay, so that would be something where I would want to coach my clients through that. Now, let's say you're getting your appointments, you're going on the listing, but you can't get it to the closing table. What do you think might be a problem if we can't get it to the closing table? What do you guys think? What could be one of the issues if we can't get it to the closing table? Put it in the chat. If you can't get it to the closing table, what do you think I might need to coach you on if that's it? Failure to qualify your buyers. You better believe it, Linda. By the way, how about not qualifying your lender? Anybody ever have a deal fall apart because of the lender? Bless their hearts, they work really hard, but sometimes that's a challenge. Could it be negotiation skills? Maybe you were in the process and you were negotiating the home inspection, and it fell apart there. Okay, maybe everybody got way too emotional. You ever have a really emotional agent on the other side? Have you ever had an emotional agent who happens to be sitting in your seat right now? This is those things, they can fall apart. Now, let's say though that you have got you're going on all your appointments, you are getting that listing, you're getting that buyer, you're getting it to the closing table, but you're not making any GCI. Your GCI is really low. What could the problem be? Could it be that you're giving away money just to get the deal closed? Could it be that it's your listing and you really lowballed it? Could it be that you're giving away money to your seller, and you paid for a ton of stuff? Maybe you paid to get the house painted. Maybe you paid to have an organizer come in because you just wanted to get it closed, and pretty soon all those charges add up. So as you can see, we can go from each step, the appointments, the seller listing taken, the closings, and the GCI, and then the net profit. Because if you're not making the net profit, you're getting the GCI, but you're not making the net profit, then it's really understanding your numbers and running your business as a business. So these are how we coach all the way through these levels. These are the numbers that you want to be looking at every single month to understand how are you doing. These are the things that my clients and I go through every single month. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share. Okay. And what I'd like you to do, if you're joining me now, do me a favor, take yourself off of mute, and I would love it, love it, love it if you could actually start your camera for us. What I'd love to hear so far is if you have any questions. If not, what are some of your biggest takeaways so far? Let's have a little conversation for a couple minutes about that, if we could. Okay. Thank you, Natasha. We'll see you later. Thanks so much for coming today. Appreciate it. What are some big takeaways right now? Tell me.
We need to run our business like a business.
Absolutely. And I wonder how many agents don't know that, Linda. You know, they don't understand all the things that we just went through. They really don't understand.
I think one of my things that I kind of a little light bulb was differentiating between the cost of sales and expenses. And I don't know that I was properly differentiating the two, as cost of sales only comes when it closes. So
Absolutely. Great aha on that, Julie. Thank you. Who else? Who else? What do you think, William? Yep. I couldn't get all of it, William. My sign language is not nearly as good as yours. You want to type it in the chat? Can you type it in for me? Do you mind? Can you type it in? I love William. By the way, he's an amazing agent. He also happens to be deaf. So I always applaud him every time that he shows up. He's such an inspiration to all of us. So William, you're an inspiration. Never heard of GCI. First time.
Are you able to
Yeah.
hear me now? Can you hear
I-
me?
Yes, I can
William.
hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, yes, hi, sorry. Yeah, about GCI, that's new to me. That terminology, just the terminology itself. I had not been aware of that. So that's a good takeaway.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Thank you, William. That is so perfect. And that's, by the way, that's actually really common. People don't understand that some of the terminology that we use is not necessarily normal for a lot of people, or maybe they don't talk about it in their brokerages, or maybe they're in the type of work where they don't go into the office, so they don't hear it. Okay. What other takeaways do we have? What other takeaways? Donna and Gladys, I'd love to know any of your takeaways. I know you're with us here. Rick, what do you think? Got any takeaways for us? What's your biggest takeaway?
I don't have any right now.
Okay, just absorbing as you go. I
Yeah.
like that. That works for me. That absolutely works for me. Okay, fantastic. So those are the numbers. When we're talking about your goals, they need to be tied to the life that you want to live. That ends up giving us a number because we go through your personal budget macros. Those numbers, you're tracking all those. Once we have all those added up, that helps us understand what your net profit is. We go from that net profit, we take that into our business numbers, all of those business macros. Those business macros takes us to our GCI. And then from there, we back it all the way back to the number of appointments we need to go on in order to create the life we want to live. Bet you didn't know that before, did you? Kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah, so these are the numbers. I know. Julie, I love that face just now. Got it. Okay. So these is really when we're talking about knowing your numbers and setting your goals. These are the things that we know. Gladys, I thank you so much. She says, run it like a business. These are her breakaways, and break business goal into small pieces to make them more manageable. It is, isn't it? Because when we saw that 4, 3, and 3, did anybody see those numbers and go, oh, I can do that? Yeah. It's so much less daunting when you know those numbers and you review them every single month. That's what we do with our clients. Okay. How'd we do? Was this good for everybody? All right. Now, for those of you who don't want to stay, that's okay. I'm going to share good stuff with you now. I'm going to shamelessly plug for a moment. So if you don't want to stay for the shameless plug, that's okay. You can head off, but if those of you who want to stay with me, I want to give something away just a little bit. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Has anybody heard, and you've probably heard, if you've been with any of my classes, you always know that we've got a main program that we teach. We have 5 different programs we teach, by the way, but our flagship program is called 12 Weeks to Breakthrough. 12 Weeks to Breakthrough. It is a training and a coaching program that helps you go from zero and step by step learn everything you need to create a business that is predictable, consistent, sustainable, and scalable. All right. Now, one of our former clients, and by the way, I'm going to walk you through the program. So for those of you who want to stay, if you don't want to stay, you don't have to. But those of you who are staying, I'm actually going to walk you through the program. But I got to tell you, one of our former clients just graduated recently. He has quadrupled his business this year so far. It's been amazing. He is giving away a $1,000 scholarship to anybody who enrolls before December 15th. A $1,000 partial scholarship to put towards your enrollment. $1,000. And he will not let me share his name. It's so exciting. So he's amazing. He graduated with us about 6 months ago, and now he's just been going gangbusters. So it's so exciting. But that's it. Okay. So I'm going to shamelessly plug for just a second. I'm going to walk you through 12 Weeks to Breakthrough. Like I said, here's how it works. There are 12 weeks. Each week has a module. In each module, there are video lessons. You watch the video lessons, and then once a week, you meet with your coach. And what you do with your coach is your coach is there to help you implement, understand, ingrain the things that you learned inside of that particular module. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And I'm going to take you through what we talk about in Breakthrough. All right, we love calling it Breakthrough, 12 Weeks of Breakthrough. So very first week is all about orientation. That is helping you get really set up for success for the program. So we talk about things like, what's the difference between coaching and training? What are the coach and client responsibilities? What are the 4 levels of competency? We just get you primed the pump and get you ready to have a fantastic rest of the program. Then we take you over into mindset, one of my favorite topics. For those of you who've done coaching with me on mindset, you guys know I geek out on that one. And so that is week 2. Week 3, we go through in much more detail than we did today about numbers, how to track your numbers, even how many people do you need in your database to hit your numbers. All of this stuff we go through there. The next thing we have is client acquisition. How do you not only lead generate, but then turn those leads into clients, acquiring those clients? What are all the steps you do for that? We've just added a new component that is our AI, the power of AI. We'll be teaching part of that next Thursday. The next thing we do is the client experience. How do you create such an experience for your clients that they cannot help but refer you? The next one is your value. How do you articulate your value to such an extent that you can compete against any agent? I don't know how long they've been in the program. They've been in the business 20, 30 years. You can compete because you can articulate your value so well. There is a big negotiation component in this particular module. The next one, time. This is all about your strategy, your action plan, your time. How are you managing and controlling your time? Now, this is the coolest thing on the planet. I love this statistic. 94% of our clients report that they had a breakthrough in their business on week 7. It's the coolest thing ever. Week 7 is the set week. They go, oh my gosh, it all came together. I get it. And they are starting to really gain a lot of momentum in week 7. In week 8, we have operations. How do you run your business as a business? How do you run your business as a business? In week 9, we talk about your gaps. How do we fill in the gaps? What are the missing pieces? You've gone through all of the other steps. What are the missing pieces? Then we have our growth plan. How do we keep you growing for the next 6 months? Okay. Finally, we have our path to money. Second to finally, actually, our path of money. That's how do you have your money make money? This is all about investing and creating wealth. And then finally, we have our next steps. How do we set you up for full success coming up over this next year? Now, we know already that we have our 12-week training course. That is in it. Now, that is a $4,900 value. If you had to go and find that anywhere else, that would cost you about $4,900. And that's not including the coaching. If you had to get the coaching, the one-on-one coaching for that amount of time, for 3 months, that would cost you $3,600. But that's not where we end up. Here's the cool thing in the program. You get every listing presentation, every buyer consultation, all your marketing presentations, your value presentations, all of that is included in the program. Here's the cool thing about that. If you had to go and find those yourself or have those designed for you, that'd be $2,500. But we're not ending there. How about handy guides for your buyers and your sellers? These are everything from the smooth move moving guides, the ultimate moving guide, to the ultimate home buyer's guide, the things to consider when you're selling your home. These are the things that you can present to be real help to your clients. If you had to go out and get those created or buy those somewhere else, that'd be about $1,200 value. Let's keep going. How about all the spreadsheets, the checklist, the profit and loss workbooks, everything that we talked about here today? Those are all included inside the program. We have a full business suite of those things. If you're out there and you're getting those for yourself, you're going to spend about $900 just to get those. Let's keep going though. I love writing books. So some of you guys have read some of my books. We call them the Finley Field Manuals. So those are things like Negotiations 101, the Digital Media Mastery book, the Rookie's Handbook if you're a new agent, The Art of Engagement, A Complete Guide to Storytelling in Real Estate, all sorts of different books. You will get those. And if I publish one while you're in the program, you get that as well. If you go out buying those on your own, that's about $500 value for you right there. But here's the biggest one. If you can create a breakthrough in your business and in your life this year, if you are able to hit every single goal that you want to hit this year, how much would that be worth? I'm going to tell you, I think that'd be priceless. Priceless. Plus, let's keep going. We have our bi-weekly live stream training sessions. Okay. We have our video vault full of all of our past training classes. We have our private Facebook group. We have blogs and articles. And then once you finish coaching, you can move into, you have the ability to go ahead and sign up for our performance coaching option afterwards. So if we take all of those things, and you put them together, that is a $13,600 value. But here's the thing, you will not pay this. You will not pay this. Our program normally is $4,500. $4,500 for all of those things that you get. So you're not paying $13,600, it's $4,500, but you're not going to pay that this time either. Why? Because we've got that partial scholarship for you. So exciting. So you are only going to be paying $3,500. Your enrollment is so cheap. That is so extraordinary. All right. So here's what is next. You're going to, if you want to move forward, if you want to know about, if you want to even know if this is for you, what you can do, you can go ahead and schedule a discovery call with me. It's a 10 to 15 minute call. You can scan this QR code right here, scan that. That's going to take you to my calendar. You can book something right now and be 10 to 15 minutes. Just find a time that works for you. Outstanding. Okay, so we're right on time. I'm so happy. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I had such a great time with everybody. You were amazing. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Remember, next week, we're going to be going into AI. We're going to be talking about ChatGPT. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. I will see you next Thursday. Till then, bye.